Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar on public cloud killer apps. My name is Fredrik Travaglia and I will be moderating this session where my colleague Sally Serdanak from Enfo and Frode Langmoen and Robert Quinn from IBM are speakers. In this session, we will try to explain how the cloud and public cloud infrastructure can enable applications and capabilities which are just not reasonably feasible in a traditional IT environment on-premise, how it can help you and your business get more value from investments in application development, and enable the creation of business supporting functionality to make your business ready for the future. By definition, a killer app is any computer program or software that is so necessary or desirable that it proves the core value of some larger technology. And these examples are truly killer apps for public cloud technology and infrastructure. Towards the end, we have some time set aside for questions. So can I please ask you to note down your questions in the chat as we go along in the session, allowing us to address them in a discussion format together with you towards the end. Up until then, the audience will be muted, and then you will be able to unmute yourselves and ask questions, and of course participate in the discussion. First off, let me introduce you briefly to Enfo, respectively IBM, as a company. Enfo is a Nordic IT consultancy with approximately 900 experts in leveraging the value of data for businesses. We have approximately 400 customers in the Nordics, ranging from public organizations and local government to private companies with local as well as global reach. Our areas of expertise range from integration and cloud management to business intelligence and identity and access management. And in our ever more complex information and IT landscape, these competencies tend to overlap and provide synergistic value in solution design and development when combined. The goal with our business is to improve your business, to gain further insights and value out of the data and systems you have through technology and experience. We do this through our offered services, consulting and joint projects together with customers and partners. IBM practically needs no introduction, considering the fact that everyone is aware of the company and many of their innovations and achievements over 100 years it has been in business are everywhere. IBM is a pillar of innovation in the IT and digitalization area. Cognitive computing with Watson applications and cloud applications may be all the rage now, but the company history involves contributions to developing the foundations for everyday technologies like credit cards, barcodes, airline booking systems, and congestion charge systems. To get us started, I'd like to introduce you to our speakers today. Sally Serdanak is a highly skilled professional with more than 14 years of experience in data integration. He has specialized in support, IBM technology, leading teams, and developing services. Frode Langmoen is a senior technical specialist and solution IT architect at IBM in the Nordic region. Frode has been involved in the IBM technical community for many years and has more than 30 years in the IT industry. He's part of the IBM Accelerator team, working with startup, scale-ups, and solution providers, helping these companies create new and innovative solutions. Up until today, they have helped over 100 companies for future innovative solutions. And last but not least, Robert Quinn is a senior technical specialist in IBM Cloud and Cognitive Solutions. For more than 20 years, he has helped customers use technology to drive their businesses. In coronavirus times, his days are spent in continuous web conferences. He asks, can your AI learn and adapt like humans? With that said, I'll hand over to my colleague Sally, who will speak more about the state of integration and integration as a service. Sally, please go ahead.
All right, thank you for that, Frederick. So glad to be here. I will be talking about the state of integration, and sorry, the slides are jumping around here. Then I will be presenting one of our services, a public app, a cloud killer app, and then finally I will be talking about one of our business cases. So to talk about the state of integration, I have to talk about the state of the world, as the two are interconnected. And one of the current trends that we see is that everybody is working from home, and there's lots of students that are also studying from home. These two trends has increased the rate of digitalization, and as a result of this, a lot more standard apps have been used during this time. More standard apps means that if you're going to do integration, you need more standard connectors, and you need pre-made adapters. So going forward, your integration platform will need these components. The increased usage also means that the trend around building scalable and lightweight integration will need to continue, and those that aren't doing that will need to start doing that. Logistics is an important part of everything, and we have seen great failures in that. Borders has been shut down. People who work within logistics have been unable to work due to COVID. And as a result of this, packages has been lost, and it has become very unreliable. So there is one technology that could help with building this trust again, and that is blockchain. It's an integration technology which is kind of advanced, but luckily IBM has such a platform in the cloud which you could use to get started with this. 5G adoption has been ongoing for a while now, and during COVID, or because of COVID, this has been increased. There are now more than 380 operators working with implementing 5G. And 5G is necessary around the world so that more people can work from home and study from home and access internet with high speeds, as we can in most places in Sweden. And this leads to new implementations of IoT devices and similar things that will need integration. And of course, more people on the internet means more reasons to do integration. I would also like to mention the health sector. It's been under a lot of strain, as we know. I believe that going forward, we will see a lot more resources added to this field, be it higher salaries, more personnel, or research. And one of the interesting things that is up and coming in this field is machines that could be operated inside the human's body that can be connected to the internet. And there are examples of companies that have now solved the problem around you needing to recharge batteries, because there's no way to open up the body and exchange batteries or put in a cable to charge batteries. And when we talk about IoT and integration, these are devices which are not being accounted for because they are so cutting edge. So this is something that we'll see more of going forward, integration with what I like to call cybernetics. And of course, IoT, this has been a strong trend where the rate of increase has been around 21 in enterprise IoT usage. Depending on where you look, the numbers are a little bit different, but this is a field that I believe will continue on quite unaffected by COVID. So the state of integration. A few surveys done at the end of March, beginning of April, says that integration is very critical for business success. And I don't think these numbers has changed because of COVID. And based on what I said earlier with the increased rate of digitalization, these numbers has probably increased a few percentages during this time. But then there was a survey that says that 65% will have a hybrid integration platform by 2022. I believe that this is a number that we will reach before 2022, or by 2022. This number will be, we will go above this number because of the increased use of standard apps and the things I just mentioned. And 65% say they prefer cloud or hybrid cloud. I'm not sure what the other 35% says, but I believe they still prefer on-premise. So that's an interesting figure. So that's the state of integration. Still a very critical and important part of IT. So I'm going to be talking about integration as a service. It's a service that we've had for more than for 10 years now, actually. And it's now in its third incarnation, where the first version was built on an IBM license that we purchased and installed. And it was more cumbersome than this latest version, which is built on IBM Cloud. It's the easiest way to purchase integrations. It allows you to, when you come to us, to talk about your business needs and talk about integration. So you don't have to talk about SLAs for your integration platforms or monitoring or things like that, as we are responsible for that. Your focus is not on how we monitor the integration platform or how we develop things or what components that we're using, since all of that stuff is our responsibility. It's so we believe this is the Spotify of integration services. So this is a service where no expertise is needed. You don't have to have an IT department. You don't have to have integration specialists or IT experts. We provide a service portal where you can order your integrations. You get a great overview of everything. And this service portal has a guide which allows you to order your integrations by filling in the forms and guiding you through this. Now, this can be complicated for people who are not working within integration. So if you want to order something, you could also just create a short request and say, I need help with connecting these two applications, and we will contact you and help you out with that request. We also provide predictable prices. When you order an integration, we have a predefined set of sizes that we will categorize your request according to. And based on that, your price and delivery time will be, you will know the price and the delivery time. When it comes to operations, we have similar things. There's a base price for the integration, and we include a certain volume, an amount of messages or requests that you can do. And when you go above that, there's a price for each message that is being sent. And that is also something you could predict based on if you know your volume. And we say that everything is included, so there should be no hidden fees, there should be no surprises, and this is important if you don't have an IT expert. So you shouldn't feel, of course you should read the contract, but you shouldn't feel like there's a hidden meaning here. So we are responsible for upgrades and migrations and all that boring stuff that you normally have to worry about. And by including as much as possible, it makes it easy for you. And basically what we say is that adaptive changes are included. And for those of you who don't know, adaptive changes is when there's a change which is due to the integration platform or one of the components that the integration is using. So for instance, a security change, if there's a change in a security component that we're using, maybe it's gotten old, then we have a reason to change that, so there won't be a security issue for you, and that would of course be something we would take care of and our cost to deal with. And by taking full responsibility, we believe we can develop and deliver the integrations quicker and give you better SLAs. To maximize the flexibility, we offer a short termination. We can go down to 1 month if you like that. The transition out is quite easy. If you decide to leave the service, we will provide you with all of the source code, all of the deployable artifacts, and all of the documentation that we have developed for you. And all these 3 things we will do at no extra cost. So let me talk about the Blue Water case. They are a company who has the vision that everybody should have access to clean drinking water. There was a report from the World Health Organization that said that we are drinking about 5 grams of 1 teaspoon worth of plastic every week. So that's quite a lot. And of course, that's a huge problem around the world. So they came to us and say, we want to sell our water cleaning machines on our e-commerce site. And we want to be able to grow to this to a worldwide web page, to a worldwide shop. So they need to be able to add third-party logistics companies quickly. And they didn't have any IT experts. And since they don't know anything, they said, but we want this to be cheap and future-proof. And of course, they don't have any understanding for license costs and platforms and stuff like that. So we help them by providing integration as a service, where there are no license costs and there are no hardware costs and there are no upstart costs. Everything is ready for you to start using. By using IBM Cloud and API Connect in this case, we were able to provide them with the latest technology. And of course, no hidden fees here. And when we started, they started by ordering integrations from us. So we sat down and started to help them with the design of that. And this has resulted in them having a good overview of their integrations and the costs related to that. They can go into our service portal and see their upcoming invoice and see how that is developing. And we have a good example where by using this portal, they could see that the implementation on the e-commerce site was needed to be improved, and they did that before it became an issue. And the service is proactive, so they don't have to think about when do we need to change this component in API Connect, stuff like that. So this has allowed them to focus on their business. They haven't had to hire some IT expert to talk with us. and they've been able to quickly and cheaply make launches in new countries by using our site, our service, and add new third-party logistics partners. And by that, I want to say thank you and hand over to Frode.
Thank you, Sally. I'm going to talk about blockchain and kind of a blockchain application that we use, and that is very important for our environment actually. And what we try to do here is to create an environment where we take away waste from food. We take away kind of uncertainty when you are talking about food and so on. So this is about blockchain and about food trust. My name is Frode. Well, 500,000 US and 3. Guess what that is? Well, in 2013, it was 8 people dead and about 500,000 people sick. All lettuce in the US was recalled, and it took them 3 weeks to find the infection. So all the lettuce in US recalled. You couldn't get any lettuce on McDonald's or in any store. So this was because of the EHEC bacteria going into this lettuce. So that was a very, very big problem in 2013. So what we actually did was that, and Walmart was very, very bad hit by this infection. So it took them 3 weeks to track that lettuce. And what we did was to create a food trace solution for them. So now we go from 3 weeks to 1 second, actually, under 1 second. And what Walmart also did was to give this as a requirement for all their suppliers. So everybody that's want to buy or sell to Walmart, they have to do this and to create the food trace. What it actually can do with your food is that we can go from having a date, a fixed date, to have a dynamic best before date. So we see that we can minimize the food waste, so we can reduce the food waste using the dynamic best before date for some of the food. Of course, with this food trace solution, the food is also much more safe, and together we can have better logistics also in the food supply chain. So what we do here, guess 500,000, 420,000, 8%, 33, and 20%. Guess what? We have almost the same problem in Sweden. Every year we are about 500,000 people that is sick because of food. In the world we have 420,000 people dead every year, and we see that a lot of all the system that is used by food manufacturers and farmers and so on are manual. So it's a lot of digitalization in that space. We can also see that 33% of all the fresh food is wasted. So it's not only me and you that is back home that wasted food, but it's also in the supply chain, and that is 33%. Another thing that we see is that they do fake food and so on. So for instance, in China, you don't know if you get a salmon or if you get a trout. They call everything salmon fish. So and of course trout is much cheaper. So that is a way to create real good labeled foods. 42% of the restaurants in New York, they actually don't know what they serve, if it's salmon or if it's trout or whatever. So this is also a big problem in the restaurant business. So what do we use to have this kind of food trace solution? Well, we use blockchain, and most of you have heard about blockchain with bitcoins, but we use the blockchain, and we call it Hyperledger. That is our implementation of blockchain, and we have created a solution based on Hyperledger. So the Hyperledger or the IBM Food Trust blockchain is running in the cloud. So no installation locally, or you have to deal about the technology. So that is a real public cloud infrastructure that you can use to create value for the customer. So as you see here in this picture, you can see that it's a lot of integration. You have to integrate with from the farmer to the logistics, to the transportation, to the production, and to your table. So and on top of this kind of blockchain, we have a lot of other software parts, like the trace part, the certification part, the fresh insights part, and you as a developer, you can also use the API part and be part of this this blockchain. So the trace part is using for tracing the foods, where it is, and you can also recall it and so on. And the certification part, well, you have the documentation and you cannot fake it. So you have the certification that the goods or the products is safe and it's produced by the right producer and so on. And the fresh insight is used in real time, for instance, to get the dynamic best before dates, or you can see that the food is fresh. And the third party APIs are used to build new solutions. We have a lot of big companies using this solution, like Nestlé. I'm going to show you an example later on. Walmart, of course, I talked about that, and Walmart is using this food trust now for other areas like clothes and so on. We are working with Driscoll's and Dole, as you know, Dole is also doing a lot in this space. Carrefour, the French warehouse or the French store, is using this for their own products. So if you buy Carrefour ketchup, you can actually trace it down to the tomato. And we can see that premium brands like Heinz and others is very, very interested in doing the same. So it's kind of a war between premium brands and their own brands like Carrefour or Walmart's own brands and so on. If you take a look at the ecosystem, because everything here is in an ecosystem, we are working with the grocers, and there we have a very big cooperation with a company called Yara. Yara is the biggest producer of fertilizers, and they are working very near the farm. So they have a solution where you can actually minimize the fertilizer and also using it in the right way. Together with the data from our weather and weather company, they can do this for the farmer and the grocers on that level. And we are also working with the food manufacturers to get them out and also put the data that they have in their manufacturing stores and manufacturing into this blockchain, and go wider to the distributors, to the food logistics and the food retailers. And of course, we are also working with a company called, or an organization called GS1. GS1 is behind every, say, article number in the industry. So it's a standard that we use actually from the GS1. And as you see here, it's a lot of integration from the farm, from the manufacturer, and so on. So it's big infrastructure integration projects going from the sensors to your table. What we have also done is that we have been working with the fish industry, and this is a special case from Quarry. Quarry is a small salmon manufacturer. They have the salmon factory up in northern Norway, and they are farming their salmon there, and that is ecological. So they're using ecological food, they are using ecological environment, and so on and so on. But how can they prove that this is ecological? How can they prove it for you as a customer? You have it on your table, but you don't know if it's ecological all the way. So then we use the food trust, and we put in everything into this chain, from the egg, salmon egg, to the production, transportation, and so on, distribution, and all the way to US. Whole Foods in US is using this, and they can actually take twice the price for the salmon, because they can use this kind of technology to prove that that they are not faking. We are using barcodes, in this case barcodes that we put on the different kind of products, and you can actually see the tracing here. And you as a manufacturer, or you as a farmer, you own your data, so you decide who is going to see your data and how they can take care of that data in the chain. So you don't pay anything to put the data into the chain, and you are responsible also for that data. We have also other areas where we use the same kind of technology, and this is the spare parts, and Airbus, you know, the manufacturer of flights, or not flights, but airplanes. They use this to see if the spare parts are original or is copied. Because if they are copied and they discover that under a crash, well, then they maybe don't have to be sued or whatever, and so on. So and they can also see the spare part history, reduce accidents, and also have control over the facility and how they can put these spare parts into a plane. So this is a very, very big system for them to have this kind of control over their spare parts. Another area where we see this, and we are working with some other companies, is in the medicine and healthcare area, where it's a lot of copy of drugs, and especially in China. And using this kind of technology, we can be sure that the medicine is right and it's coming from the right people, from the right factory. It's not copied, and it's safe for you to take it. So that's an area that is very important to have this kind of traceability. Another area where it's a lot of fake is olive oil, and especially extra virgin olive oil from Italy. They are very copied, and we are working with the farmers and the producers in Italy to stamp them, so a traceability and that they're not faked. So it's a lot of money in faking food. So, and using this kind of traceability and blockchain, we prevent that. This is a case you can actually go to the store. I bought my Zoegas coffee, and you can point your mobile phone to this Zoegas coffee, and you can get the story behind the beans that they have here. You can see who has been the farmer. I think it's like 5 or 6 farmers that is behind this Zoegas summer edition. And you can actually see it. I don't think they put in that you can tip them, but we have a solution that you can tip the farmer. If you like the coffee and you think this is good, you can tip the farmer directly. And you don't have any, putting in your money into a big black hole. You can actually see that they got the money from the beginning. So going further here, I put my voice to Robert.
Thanks, Frode. As Frederick said, Robert Quinn is my name, and I am part of the Cloud and Cognitive team within IBM, based in Gothenburg. So my actual killer apps are actually a collection of AI APIs that you can use to actually infuse a AI into your own applications. What I'm going to do is introduce them, and then I will show a few demos of how this technology can be actually used. They are grouped into a series of different areas, but if you're thinking about AI and you're thinking about text and voice and so on, the most important is that the natural language understanding actually works. So without actually understanding, AI is quite worthless. So in my demos, I'm going to highlight the natural language understanding capabilities. I will show you some examples of where cognitive search or the discovery search far exceeds what you would get with traditional search. I will also talk about tone and sentiment, and I will show you how combining these APIs can actually give you a much better solution. Now, all of these are available to you as REST APIs. So if you've got an application that you would like to add AI to, it's simply calling these APIs with the information that's necessary to be processed. Now, one particular API I want to highlight here is the one under explainable. A lot of organizations are avoiding AI, or the uptake of AI is actually very slow because people don't trust it. They don't know why a model is making the decisions it's making. Why is there bias? Those sorts of things. So IBM actually has an API called OpenScale, which will enable you to open up the models. Doesn't matter who built the models, it will explain why it's making those decisions. So without that, we don't see AI accelerating. So what I will do now is I will jump out to my browser and actually show you a demo of a few of these. Now, the first killer app I have here is around text analysis, actually understanding unstructured text, whether it be in files like Word or PDFs or just straight text files. It doesn't really matter. What we want to do is actually understand or make sense of the data, of the text. So here is a simple demo that's using the NLU, or the Natural Language Understanding API, and it will actually analyze it for us. So if I look at, here's just a short piece of text that I'll use. It's from a legal domain. If I analyze it, what it's doing is looking through the text and extracting different information from that text. So here you can see it's picked up a few entities, and entities are things like places and people and topics. And it's saying, okay, I found these particular entities, there are these types, and I'm that confident. Now, one of the things about IBM and AI is that we don't actually say that this is the exact answer. What we do is actually bring back different results and rate those results as to how accurate we think they are. So the confidence level. So here we've got a few entities. It's extracted some keywords and how relevant they are, some concepts. So not only do we look at keywords and entities, but we actually understand the concepts that these are being used in and relationships between different things. Now, this was a very simple piece of text. So it's extracted some information. Classification. So having text and understanding text can also mean that we can understand the sentiment. So here we're looking at the document itself. Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it neutral? And then we take that a step further and look at the entities that's identified, and then the keywords and so on. So it's pulled all of that out. So the sentiment, positive, negative, but also the emotion. So what is the tone that's being expressed in here at the document level, at the entity level, and so on? Now, what's important here is that it's not looking at keyword and making a decision. Is this keyword an angry word or a sad word or a glad word? It's actually looking at the context that word is used in. So the whole sentence, the same as a human would do. So a particular word could be several different types of tone depending on the sentence it's used in or the context. So this is where Watson, or the IBM AI engine, actually understands context rather than just words. And then the categories. So, okay, so we've seen different categories talked about in this text. So here you can see that we're talking about some finance, technology, business, transportation, actually giving you further context on the categories that are talked about in this article. If you want to go and look at the linguistics, you can see here that we've got our subjects, we've got our actions and our object form, and you can see it's highlighting the different semantic roles and so on in the text itself. The other thing is that you can actually teach our model further. So we give you an NLU model, but you can extend that for your particular domain, is normally the case. Now let me just do a little bit more complex text. So here I've got some text about a particular type of AI. I analyze it. And it's going to come back and it's going to say, look, in this particular set or this particular article, I've found certain types of entities, whether they're people, organizations, and so on. Keywords, completely different domain. So we were looking at legal to start with. Now we're actually talking, we have an article on AI. So it understands neural networks, less training data. These are all information that it's extracted from straight text. The concepts that are talked about. So in this particular article, artificial intelligence, the neural networks, cognitive science, the relationships between different things. So here we've got MIT as part of the IBM Watson AI lab. So it's understood those concepts and relationships. Classification. So here we've got technology, family, and so on. The linguistics. Okay. All of that is just returned by calling or passing that text to the NLU API. So I can actually understand this straight text analysis. Okay. And it is an API, so it can be actually used in things like understanding data. So my next demo, or my next killer app, is actually a demo app that we have to highlight the use of cognitive search and natural language understanding. We have a repository which is about 15 million articles, open news articles, that we ingest roughly 300,000 into each morning and remove the oldest 300,000. And it's a 28-day cycle. And what we do is we actually ingest it and then it makes it searchable. So here, if I go and look for something like Volvo cars, it's going to search those 15 million articles. And as those articles were added to our repository, it's actually enriched them. So it's actually said, okay, here is some text, but let's enrich that text. So things like what topics are discussed in those articles. So here we can see we've got something about electric cars. So let's see how Volvo and electric cars. So we can see the relationship there. Where are these articles from around the world? What people are discussed in those articles? And all of this becomes searchable by just clicking on it. So if we go for Hawken Samuelson, okay, it's showing us where those particular articles that are written that mention Hawken that are Volvo car articles. What other companies are discussed in those articles? So who is working with who? Organizations. So taking a little bit further. If I just pick one of these, we can see the relationship. So it drills down. If I pick an article, it will show me that article in the list of the articles that's brought back. And you can see here the article is Volvo Cars is today announcing such and such. If I want to look at the full article, I can click on the full article link. But here are the enrichments that it's added to it. Things that it thinks are important when you're trying to search for this information. So which companies, the organizations, people, and so on. Okay. By clicking, it's showing me further links or relationships. Okay. So that's taking unstructured text and actually making it, enriching it, and making it searchable, understandable. And once again, this is just passing text to an API and having it do it for us. So no longer is unstructured text irrelevant when we're trying to make business decisions. We're making it searchable and very quick. The next demo that I wanted to show, which is another API, is actually the difference between what we call a cognitive search using Watson Discovery and a traditional search. So if you think about a domain, and in this case, we're using the auto domain, and we've got car manuals. So we've ingested some car manuals, some PDFs, into a repository for Discovery to manage. If we just go and select a particular query, we've got some natural language queries here. I could type something in, but I'll just select that one. what we're saying is that I want to know how to properly install child restraints. So I'm asking a question and I would like it to respond by, this is the recommended way of doing it. If I was doing a traditional search, I'd probably put in these keywords, install client restraint. Okay? But I want to actually ask a question. Now, if I do a search, what we're doing is we're actually searching the domain that we've created or the knowledge base that we've created. And you can see here that if we go to the traditional search, it said we've got 6 documents. Here are those documents. So somewhere in those documents is some information that might help me with installing a child restraint. What Discovery does instead is actually say, look, I've searched my knowledge base and I know that I have 147 answers that are contained in 7 documents. Now these answers are answers to your particular question. And it said, okay, look, the first one I've got, and I've given it a confidence of 59%. So this is the most confident answer I have, is in this particular document, there is this passage or this paragraph that says when installing a child restraint with a top tether. So it's actually giving me an answer. It's not just looking for keywords. And what it's done is says, this is the section that I think is most relevant for your question. And it's giving me some extra information here. And if I just open that up, it's going into more detail. So it's saying in this particular document, that is the paragraph. Now, when I ingested or when I read this document, I was able to extract further information from it for you. Okay, so it's using its NLP or its NLU to actually understand, not just record. And if we go through this quickly, okay, we're actually saying, look, we can actually teach Watson on how to best answer questions. You've got defaults to start with, but we can improve that if you like. And it's saying, I want to give you an answer. I don't want to give you a reference to a document. So what can it do? So here you can see here it's saying the section is actually on page 44. So you've got the section. If you want to, you can actually open it and go directly to that section. But traditionally, I just want to get an answer. I don't want to have to go and read the document. What else can it do for us? So here it is. It's pointing to that particular passage. Okay. And it's highlighting it for us. It's giving us the answer. It could be that I ask a question where it just returns a number. Okay, in what year did this happen? And it will just say, okay, that happened in year 2020, for instance. Okay, and I keep talking about enrichments. So it's actually extracting things like we saw in the NLU, things like entities and keywords and concepts and categorization. So it's brought that back for me. So it's saying, here's the answer, but look, what I've extracted for you, and these become searchable, things like child restraint, latch systems, installation, safety belts. So all of these are keywords that are actually in the passage or in the article, and the concepts. Okay, so it's picked up some concepts there as well. Okay. Now, by default, IBM gives you models, but you can train them, you can improve them, you can teach Watson about your particular domain. So in this case, we're saying, look, we can provide you with a set of answers without any further training from you, but if you've got somebody who wants to ask questions and train it, Watson will start to use that and improve its own models, its own search models based on your subject matter experts' recommendations. So being able to take it further. Okay. So here is an example of how you can use the Watson Discovery with the inbuilt NLU to actually make sense out of documents. Give answers rather than links to full documents that you need to then search through. The next killer app is what I call a multilingual web chat. I work with a lot of customers in the Nordics who have to support multiple languages, and they want to have an assistant to do that rather than having to actually build it in multiple languages. So here is an example where we have a virtual assistant, and I'm not going to call it a chatbot, but it's a virtual assistant. It resolves the user's questions, and it's been built and trained using English. So here you can see on the left-hand side a simple chatbot, welcome language using language translator, and having that as the initial call to the chatbot. If I choose pay my bills, okay, it then goes and pulls back the answer, and it's in English. Let's say we want to use this chatbot in Sweden, so it understands Swedish. So if I change it to say Swedish, in real time, it's actually just translating the text and the responses. So here it's saying, look, this is what was originally there. You've chosen to have it in Swedish, so here is my translation of it, and I will display that to the user. And then if I choose that, or I could have just typed in betala räkning. I don't have to, it's not looking for the exact words, it's actually the understanding, and the training has been done in English, but with the translation, it works fine. So here you can see, okay, you've selected that, here is my response to it, okay, and all of the buttons and so on are translated to match. And very quickly, you've combined the translator with the assistant, and now you have a multi-language supported virtual assistant, okay, without having to train it in multiple languages, without having to build it in multiple languages, by simply adding a translator to the front of the chatbot. Okay, so that's all of these demos are demos that you can actually access. All of those APIs you can access on cloud.ibm.com. There are free plans for all of those, so take advantage of that without having to actually pay at all. If I just jump back to the presentation, I just want to talk about a couple of examples. So here is an extension to discovery. So I showed you an example of discovery and being able to ask questions. Here is what we call content miner, which actually understands your documents and then leads you through analyzing those documents. So in this case, I know that we're having problems. We've got hundreds of tickets, issue tickets, related to a particular model of a car. And what we don't know is why this is happening. So in this case, so discovery, or the content miner, is actually identified car models, and it said, look, of all of the incident reports or the documents that you have, I've found a certain number relate to this particular type of vehicle or this particular model. So let's start there and then start drilling down and analyzing it. So in this particular example, the customer actually found out that a lot of the issues had common parameters, common information that was just stored as text in a text field, which was not searchable. And what they ended up being able to do was understand common words, common cases across the different issues. And they ended up finding out that the model was having issues with certain equipment in the car when the temperature got to a certain value, and that was causing the issue. And that was done just from unstructured text documents. Another example where a car manufacturer had lots and lots of documents in different languages, in different formats, and they were never able to actually search them. All they did was ingest them, and they found that their experts were able to find the answers to their questions much, much quicker, and they were able to spend time doing other more important things. If you want to find out any stories about Watson and AI, I suggest visiting this site because there's a lot of technology there, a lot of reference cases that can be used. Okay, with that, I will hand it back to Frederick.
Terrific. Thank you very much, guys, for these insights, and especially the demos. They were really nice, Robert. Very insightful to review. So we've seen some terrific examples of the practical use and business cases for public cloud infrastructure and applications on such infrastructure. The application of cloud technology to provide integration as a service, the amazing possibilities for traceability and transparency that blockchain technology through cloud-based applications can bring, and finally, the almost magic features contained in cloud-delivered Watson applications. Now, there's a famous quote by Arthur C. Clarke, which goes along the lines of, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And I bet that if you would have shown these examples to anyone from let's say, present in the 80s, they'd be pretty convinced that it actually was just that, magic. So at this point, we'll open up for questions briefly. We're almost at the end of our session, and I will allow everyone to unmute themselves now. So let us just wait for a few seconds to see if anyone would like to pose a question. Not at this point, and considering that we have quite little time left at this point, I will just say that I will email out contact details to everyone to allow you to get in touch with us to pose individual questions and ask whatever you like in terms of how to deploy and apply these public cloud infrastructure applications within the context of your business and your company. If you'd like to discuss this further and dive into the details of how this approach can benefit your organization and business, we at Enfo and IBM are available to contact and happy to help. We'd like to offer an on-site or virtual workshop with discussions tailored to your business. And this webinar is recorded, and a link for access to download it will be emailed out shortly. Thank you everyone for calling in today to listen to our webinar. Don't hesitate to reach out for more information, and have a great day.